Before we get on to the video, do me a favor and hit the like button, it greatly helps out the channel. Also, while you're down there, subscribe for more. Now back to the video. At midnight, Lim headed to the main building of the White House Guild, and as he made his way up the elevator, he had a thought. He never expected that one day he would have to come here on his own. The elevator stopped at the 12th floor of the White House Guild basement, which was the personal training hall for Changsu. And when the doors to the elevator opened, Lim was greeted with the sight of steam evaporating from Changsu's body. Changsu was in the middle of an intense warm-up, and after noticing Lim coming in, he quickly ended his warm-up, and he turned to Lim, expressing that he was late. This confused Lim, because he made sure to arrive 10 minutes earlier than the designated time. He expressed this to Changsu, and Changsu apologized. He told Lim that he was so excited that he couldn't sit around and wait, so he decided to warm up a bit. Changsu told Lim that he never expected that the request he wanted to ask of him earlier was for a 3-day spar, especially since Lim always avoided the topic when he brought it up. Lim started laughing nervously. The reason why he signed himself up to get beaten is because compared to Earth right now, there are a lot of powerful people on the Gaia continent. And before departing, Lim wants to check the performance of the martial arts he picked up through a serious spar. Changsu is one of the most talented people Lim has ever met, so he will be a good opponent. Lim quickly regained his composure, and as he slowly unsheathed his sword, he asked Changsu to take good care of him for the next 3 days, and Changsu requested the same of him. Since pleasantries were now out of the way, Changsu believed it was time for them to begin. He took a fighting stance, and as he released his aura, he expressed that Lim should have no need for a warm-up, since he should have already done so before coming here. Lim quickly realized that he made a mistake. He tried backing out by saying he was just being cocky earlier when he made the request. However, Changsu interjected. He told Lim that as of now they can only talk by using their fists, and he rushed at him. Changsu's attack was explosive, and each time he hit Lim, a shockwave was sent throughout the building of the White House Guild. 3 days later, inside the White House Guild building rental accommodation room that Lim and Lily were using, Lily approached Lim questioning why his face was messed up. With an intimidating aura, she asked Lim to tell her who hit him, so she could go scold them. Lim, whose face had been disfigured by Changsu's punches, told Lily to forget about it, and he asked her to go pack her things. Thanks to the beating Lim received by Changsu for those 3 days, he was able to get familiar with the new martial arts he picked up when he cosplayed as the Great Sage. However, as a result of the stress on his body caused by the continuous use of those martial arts, he ran out of stamina yesterday, which made the beating more merciless than the other days. Lim took a potion, and as he drank it, he thought to himself, questioning where a monster like Changsu comes from. Sometime later, after they had finished their preparations, Lim and Lily headed to the first floor of the main building of the White House Guild, and as soon as they arrived they were greeted by Changsu, Wang, Suradiok, and Beak. Changsu was feeling cheerful. He expressed with a smile on his face that today is the day Lim goes on vacation, and he advised him not to go anywhere where he would get beaten up. Lim wasn't as cheerful as Changsu. He had eye bags, and he looked like someone who didn't sleep for days. He told Changsu that thanks to him, he doesn't think anyone would ever be able to hit him again. Lim then turned to Wang, and he put him in charge of Team 7 for the month he was away on vacation. This startled Wang. He asked Lim if something like that is even possible for someone like him. Lim furiously told Wang that he better take good care of Team 7 while he was not around, and if he returned to Team 7's reputation in ruins. Then, as he said this, he motioned his hand across his neck, threatening Wang with decapitation. Tears streamed down Wang's face, and he expressed in a saddened tone that he would do his best. Suradiok made his way over to Wang and he started comforting him. And as Lim observed this, he noted that Wang still hasn't realized that he's among the top rankers. He sighed, and he told Suradiok to watch over Wang, to make sure he does a good job. Suradiok accepted his task with a smile on his face. And then Lim turned to Beak, preparing to give her instructions for what to do while he was away on vacation. However, as he turned, he was taken aback because Beak had been staring at him with a blissful expression on her face. Then she suddenly closed her eyes, and she stuck out her lips, almost like she was anticipating something. Confused, he asked her if she had gotten dust in her eyes. This angered Beak. She grabbed his arm, questioning if he doesn't know what a goodbye kiss is. Lim tried to pull himself away from Beak, and as he did this he acted ignorant, expressing that he never heard of something like that. He asked her to please look after Team 7 for him while he was away, and he also asked her to take care of the things he requested of her earlier. This further annoyed Beak, and she started questioning if Lim was only looking to exploit her. Beak hadn't noticed Changsu behind her, who was glaring at Lim with murderous intent. Lim couldn't answer. He really wasn't trying to exploit Beak, it's just that he doesn't want to die yet. Lim quickly turned around, and before leaving he looked back one last time, and with a smile he expressed that they should be on their way. Lily also turned to the others, and with a smile she waved goodbye. Afterwards Lim ran off with Lily quickly. He wanted to make sure Changsu's stare wouldn't leave a hole in his head. After Lim was gone, Beek stood there looking on with a sad expression on her face. Changsu approached, and he wrapped his hand around her shoulder, questioning why his beautiful daughter looked so sad. Beek lowered her gaze to the floor, and she expressed that she feels as if she would never see Lim again. But as she thought about it some more, she added that she was probably being worried for nothing. Changsu comforted her. He told Beek that she has nothing to worry about, and he stated that Lim was stronger than even he expected, especially his one move yesterday, which was dangerous even for someone like him. Beek was surprised, and she questioned if that really was the case. Changsu reassured Beek that this was the case, so she had nothing to worry about. Then, Changsu lifted his hand in the air and he clenched his fist. He told Beek that when Lim returned they would get back to work properly, but until then, he told her that they should do what they can. He remarked that he should get some special training done as well, so next time him and Lim can really let loose. As Lim and Lily headed to the restricted area, Lim suddenly felt anxious, and he wondered why he was feeling this way. When Lim and Lily arrived at the restricted area, Youngshin noticed the anxious look on Lim's face. So he made his way over, and he asked Lim if everything was okay. Lim took off his backpack, and as he placed it on the ground he told Youngshin that it was nothing to worry about, and he asked him if he had already said goodbye to his mother. Youngshin told Lim that he said goodbye to his mother this morning. And again Lim addressed his concerns about Youngshin joining them like he did 3 days ago. Lim was sure Youngshin would be fine since he would have the robot. But still they were going to a dangerous place. He asked Youngshin if he understands that the whole vacation stick is a lie, and that they were actually planning to go across the dimension and bring back Lily's mother. Youngshin stated that they were going to Lily's home, so nothing else that Lim says matters. He took out a phone, and he informed Lim that he made modifications to the robot like he asked. Youngshin opened an app on his phone, and through the app, he pressed a button that transformed the robot into a carriage pulled by a robotic horse. Lim and Lily were left speechless. Seeing their shocked faces, Youngshin humbly expressed that this wasn't a big deal. He explained that the robot transformation function was already there, and all he did was modify it a little bit. Youngshin's explanation amazed Lim further, and he started to grasp how talented Youngshin must be for him to consider something like this not a big deal. Youngshin added that there were other transformations too. But before he could show them off, Lim interrupted, saying Youngshin could show the other transformations later. He expressed that for now the carriage would be enough. Then Lim shifted his gaze forwards, and he noticed the flow of mana, which was starting to increase. He took a couple of steps forwards, away from Lily and Youngshin, and he told them that he will open the gate now. The flow of mana that Lim had noticed started to gather in a single spot, and Lim started drawing a magic circle below that spot. The Gaia continent and Earth are already connected. They were merely being separated by a door for the time being. After he was done drawing the magic circle, Lim took out a soul stone from his pocket, and he narrated that normally the closed gate would have opened on its own in a year's time. But by using a soul stone he could open the gate right now. Lim crushed the soul stone, releasing the mana that was stored inside. The mana from the soul stone merged with the mana that had gathered above the magic circle. This caused a reaction, and the gate was starting to open. Lim then turned to Youngshin and Lily and he told them to get into the carriage quickly. After they were in the carriage, Lim joined them, and they waited for the gate to fully open. Inside the carriage, Lily observed the gate opening anxiously. To comfort her, Lim told her to calm down. This calmed Lily, and with a smile she expressed that she was ready to go. A short while later Lim turned to Lily and he exclaimed that it was time to go. With this the carriage rode through the gate, and after they were gone the gate started to disappear quickly. Inside the Gaia continent, the scene shifted to a town that was set ablaze, and the raised voice of a man telling his subordinates to search every inch of the town until they find what they were looking for could be heard. This person's subordinates went around the town mercilessly murdering the townsfolk. The leader of the group of bandits, a red-haired man using a club as a weapon, approached the chief of the town, who had been tied up to watch his town burn. As the redhead approached, the chief spoke in anger, exclaiming to the gods that these bastards deserved to be punished. The redhead grinned, and he told the chief that it would have been better if he had just listened to their demands. The redhead pointed at the chief's head, and he expressed in an intimidating tone that the old man is going to end up in a whole lot of trouble if he keeps hiding information about what they were looking for from them. The redhead questioned if the old man wanted his grandson to die as well. The old man was terrified and he started sweating nervously, but still he remained silent. The redhead was starting to lose his patience, and he shouted, demanding the old man tell him where he was hiding it. Another person, a man that seemed to be wearing a fake mustache, had remained hidden while the bandits brutally murdered the townsfolk, and he was able to observe this scene in silence by hiding behind a wall. However, now that the chief was in danger he could no longer remain hidden. So as he was about to reveal his location, he gripped the hilt of his sword, and he apologized to the chief, saying he can't let his benefactor die like this. He revealed his location, shouting that he knows what the bandits are looking for, but suddenly a portal appeared in the sky, and Lim's carriage fell through, landing violently on the ground. Mustache Man and everyone present was in a daze. They couldn't believe their eyes. Mustache Man stared at the carriage, questioning what it was. He started wondering if it could be some magician's wide-range teleportation spell. Everyone's attention was glued on the carriage as Lim opened the door. Lim expressed that everything was shaking, and as he stepped out of the carriage, he stated that if he had known this was going to happen, then he would have brought the carriage through first. Lim's attention was then drawn to the red head and the other bandits that had gathered around the chief. Lim quickly realized what was happening. Lily became curious and she headed for the door to see what was happening outside. But Lim quickly shut the door in her face and he instructed her not to come out yet. Afterwards Lim turned and he glared at the bandits. He turned his attention to a bandit who was still partaking in the murder of the townsfolk. Then his attention was drawn to a crying child and another who was trying to get this crying child to quiet down. Seeing this angered Lim, he released his aura, stating that he found this entire scene to be absurd. He also expressed that he was further disappointed because he was excited to see what kind of state this town would be in. Lim knows that in 1 year's time, the gate connecting to Earth will be opened in this village. Therefore, in order to raise the value of his property, it seems Lim must develop this village himself. Mustache Man approached Lim. He threw himself in front of him, and while kneeling, he addressed him as a magician, and he desperately asked Lim for a helping hand. Lim was taken aback and he questioned if the Mustache Man was referring to him. The Mustache Man expressed that he was, and he explained that with teleportation magic of this size, and such an extraordinary carriage, Lim must be a magician who had reached heights that can't even be imagined. The Mustache Man took out a bag of golden coins, and he showed it to Lim, expressing that if he helps them out they will be truly grateful. The bag of golden coins made Lim very happy. He had brought with him some magic stone to exchange for gold, so the sight of the gold coins was making him gleam with joy. He reached forth his hand to grab the gold bag with a smile on his face. As Lim grabbed the bag, the Mustache Man added that if Lim takes care of the bandits then he will pay him 10 times the amount in the bag. The bandits started to panic. One of them asked if Lim was really a strong magician, and another nervously asked their boss, the Redhead, if they were really going to attack such a person. The Redhead was annoyed by his subordinate's cowardice. He pointed at the Mustache Man, and he expressed furiously that the person next to Lim is one of the guys they were looking for. He also reminded his men that their comrades will be coming over too. The bandits quickly gained back their confidence. Afterwards, the Redhead turned to Lim, and he advised him to just take the money he just received and get the hell away from here. However, his warnings fell on deaf ears. Lim was too busy counting the gold coins in the bag to notice him. This annoyed the Redhead, and he angrily asked if Lim was ignoring him on purpose. Lim continued to ignore the Redhead. He turned to the Mustache Man, and he stated that he counted 25 gold coins in the bag, and he asked the Mustache Man if he would really pay him 10 times the amount for just taking out the bandits. With a smile, the Mustache Man expressed that he would. But this got Lim thinking. He asked the Mustache Man if he would be willing to pay about 20 times more gold instead of the 10 if he killed the bandits. The Mustache Man was hesitant to agree, so Lim turned his back to him, and he expressed that since Mustache Man doesn't want to accept then he will be going. Mustache Man grabbed Lim's shoulder and he stated that he would give Lim the money. Getting rid of the bandits was something Lim was going to do anyways. So this was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone for him. He turned to the Mustache Man, and he accepted the mission. The Mustache Man thanked Lim for ripping him off, with a smile on his face. Redhead, who had been fuming the entire time Lim had been ignoring him, angrily ordered his subordinates to shoot Lim right now. The bandits gathered, and they opened fire on Lim. Lim activated a shield, and all the arrows that were shot at him bounced off of the shield. Then after the arrows stopped, Lim opened the carriage door and he asked Lily to get out. As Lily got out, Lim asked her to extinguish the fire. Lily motioned her hands forwards and the raging flames all started to gather in the palm of her hand. After gathering all the flames, Lily ate it, but as she ate it she stated that this fire was worse than the fire giants. Seeing Lily consume the fire made the bandits lose their confidence again. They came to the conclusion that Lily was a magician too, and this made them question their decisions to attack Lim further. The Redhead angrily turned to his anxious comrades, and he ordered them to bring out the battle ogre. And he stated that with the ogre they will have nothing to worry about because without someone protecting them magicians are nothing but sitting ducks. This raised the morale of the bandits, and they quickly released the ogre. After being released, the ogre let out a battle cry. This annoyed Lim. He turned to Youngshin and he asked him to take care of it. Youngshin got out of the carriage and he jumped onto the robotic horse pulling the carriage. Then he tapped the robotic horse by the side of the neck and the horse started to transform. Mustache Man was left speechless as he watched the horse and carriage transform in front of his eyes, and after the carriage and the horse transformed into a robot, he questioned how the horse and carriage was suddenly able to transform into a golem. The ogre ran at the robot, and it attacked with a downward swing of its axe, but to the ogre's surprise its axe broke after coming in contact with the robot. Youngshin went on the offensive. He punched the ogre into the ground, defeating it in a single strike. After the ogre was defeated, the bandits ran around in a panic. They tried to run away, but Lily cut off their escape path with a wall of fire, and Lim quickly made his way through them, cutting them down one by one. As Lim killed the last of his comrades, the redhead called out to him. Lim turned his attention to the redhead. The redhead had taken the chief as his hostage, and he started making threats to kill the chief if Lim got closer to him. The mustache man became anxious. He told Lim that the chief was his benefactor, and he begged him to keep the chief safe at all costs. Lim informed the mustache man that since that person was the chief, he would have to pay him extra. The redhead became hysterical. He interjected, saying that if Lim wants to save the village chief, then he will have to put out the fire and bring him a horse. He gave his first demand, which was for Lim to throw away his sword. As he was about to explain what will happen if Lim defies him, Lim suddenly appeared behind him, and he decapitated him in an instant. As the redhead's body fell to the ground, Lim took a moment to think. He just used the sword technique while applying stealth and physical enhancement, and even though this was his first time using it in a real battle, it wasn't bad. And as he observed his body to look for any side effect, he noticed a piece of paper falling out of the redhead's pocket. Lim quickly realized what the piece of paper was, so he took it and hid it in his pockets. Some time later, after everything had settled down, the chief invited Lim, Lily, and Youngshin to his home for a meal. And after he finished plating the food, the chief took a seat, and before they started eating he bowed his head, and he thanked Lim, Lily, and Youngshin, as the chief, for saving the village. The chief added that even though Lim acted like he saved them because of the money, he didn't get the feeling that Lim was a bad person, because if he was, he wouldn't have used expensive-looking potions on the injured villagers after the battle had already finished. Because of all this, the chief told Lim that he can consider this place his home, and he hoped that Lim would enjoy a nice dinner with them. And before Lim could respond, a familiar voice suddenly interjected. Lim turned his attention to where the voice came from, and he saw Mustache Man, who had a smile on his face. Mustache Man expressed that they are really grateful for the help Lim provided earlier, and he asked the chief if it would be okay if he joined in on the meal. The chief invited Mustache Man, who was joined by two others, to take a seat, but before that he turned to Lim and he asked him if he would be alright with having Mustache Man and the others join them. Lim expressed that he didn't mind, so Mustache Man approached a chair at the table with a thankful attitude. Mustache Man sat, and as two people he brought with him took a seat, he introduced them. He introduced the one in a green cloak as his wife, and he introduced the other person as their escort guard. Outwardly, Lim expressed with a smile that it was nice to meet them. However, inwardly he was starting to get skeptical of the identities of these three. The old man was introduced as an escort guard, yet he was nowhere to be seen when the bandits were attacking. Lim turned to Youngshin and Lily, who were enjoying their meal, and he decided to ignore his suspicions for now. However, this became increasingly difficult because the three that had just joined them were staring a hole in his face with their glares. Noticing the awkwardness in the room, the chief tried to strike up a conversation. He asked Lim if he was traveling somewhere, and if so, he questioned where Lim's destination would be. Lim told the chief that their destination is a small village in the Teru Kingdom, and he stated that they were going there to find someone. Hearing this startled Mustache Man's wife, Lim noticed this and he turned his attention towards her, but she quickly looked away. This further increased Lim's suspicion about these people. Mustache Man interjected, stating that to get to the Teru Kingdom Lim has to cross the border, and he expressed with a smile that they were also heading that way. This confirmed one of Lim's suspicions, and he could now see the wheels in these guys' heads spinning. The chief quickly got up from the table, expressing that he will bring more food while they continued to discuss further details. From this, Lim concluded that even though they say the chief is their benefactor, it's highly likely that he knows some details about them. Lim continued to act ignorant instead of addressing his suspicions. He turned his attention to the food in front of him. The Mustache Man called Lim to get his attention, and he expressed that he had a favor to ask. He brought his hands together and he asked Lim if he would please escort them to the border. Lim continued to act ignorant, and he asked why they would need his help when they have an escort guard. The escort guard stated, in an authoritative tone, that he heard Lim has outstanding skill, and since their destination is the same, he questioned why Lim was making a fuss about a request to escort them until they crossed the border. Lim smiled. The escort guard's tone confirmed his final suspicion. He concluded that these people aren't peasants like they presented themselves to be, they are in fact noblemen. Lim reached into his pockets, and he took out the piece of paper he retrieved from the corpse of the leader of the bandits, and he placed the paper on the table, stating that he refused their request. He showed them the wanted poster for someone who looks very similar to Mustache Man. This man's name was Hawken Allen, a court magician with a 100,000 bounty on his head, and he was wanted for the crimes of mutiny. The poster stated that he is wanted alive. As Lim showed them the poster, he expressed that the leader of the bandits had the poster in his possession. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then hit the like button.